Today we're going to look at graphing exponential functions. Okay, so we've got these modified t-charts here. This way we can, what numbers we plug in for x, we're going to show some work and then come up with the y value. All right, so let's plug some random numbers in for x. Numbers I like to start with when we're dealing with exponents: -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Is that overkill that we're doing so many points? Probably, but it helps when we have so many points. We can see the picture a little better. Okay, every one of these x values we're going to plug up here as the exponent, and let's see what we got. So -3 times 2 to the -3rd power. Now we don't like negative exponents, so we have to switch that. Remember that negative, we're going to move it down to the bottom of the fraction, which this now turns to -3 over 2 to the 3rd power. Now it turns to a positive exponent. So then our final answer, -3 over 2 times 2 times 2, going to give us 8, -3/8. Do it again. -3 times 2 to the -2 power. -3 stays up top. 2 to the 2nd comes on bottom. -3 over 4, -3/4. -3, put a -1 in up top. Rewrite it. -3, 2 to the 1st power, which is just going to be -3 over 2. Now notice that I'm not moving that -3 anywhere. We only move to the bottom of the fraction when it's a negative exponent, not a negative just integer coefficient or anything like that. Okay, put an exponent of 0 in, so -3, 2 to the 0 power. Okay, so now this is interesting. The whole answer will not be 1 because, you know, when you raise an exponent to 0, the answer is 1. Part of the answer. So order of operations says we got to do the exponent, then multiply. So we're doing -3 times 1. That exponent of 0 only goes to that 2. Same thing with all these guys. Those exponents only go to that 2. So our final answer there is -3. And now this should be a little more straightforward. 2 to the 1st power. So 3 times 2 is going to give us 6, -3, 2 squared, so -3 and 4, -12, and we're already going to run off our graph, but we'll go one more. -3 times 8 is what, 24? Negative. All right, definitely not going to be able to graph that. So let's take what we can and let's put them on the graph. Well, no, actually before that, let's change this. So 3/2, this is the same thing as saying 1.5 negative. This is saying -0.75, and this is saying -0.38, something like that. So take a look at these numbers: 24, 12, 6, 3, 1.5, 0.75, 0.3. We're getting smaller, 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 smaller as we go up. Okay, how's that going to help us? Well, let's graph. Let's see. Go back 3, go down a little more than a third. Go back 2, go down 3/4. Go back 1, go down 1.5. So here's 1, 1.5 is about right there. Go back 0, go down 3. All right, that was a tough part. All those decimals and fractions. Go over 1, go down 6. So now we're going to start to grow, or really, I guess, decay really rapidly. 2 goes down to -12, so we're off our graph here. Something like that. So just remember, as this graph moves, it's going to rapidly go down, very slowly move to the right. It's going to very rapidly move to the left, very slowly go up, and inch closer and closer and closer to that x-axis, but it's never going to hit it. It's just going to be kind of like knocking on the door saying, let us through, but we're never going to break that ceiling. All right, what if we got a fraction inside here? Well, let's plug some numbers in. Let's do those -3 to 3. So we have our x values. Let's substitute them in and see what happens. So -2, 1/2, -3. Remember, we don't like this. So I'm going to kind of change this a little bit. Normally we distribute to both and flip. I'm going to kind of make a little shortcut and say -2 times 2 to the third, 1 to the third. 1's on the bottom, that's fine. Up top you got 8 and -2, giving us -16. -2, 1/2, -2, giving us -2. Let's flip and everything gets that 2. 2 squared, 1 squared. We get 1 on the bottom. Up top you have 2 and 2 is 4. 4 and -2 is -8. -2, 1/2, -1. We're going to flip and get the positive exponents, so 2, 1, 1, 1. 1s are on the bottom. Up top you have 2 times -2, giving us a -4. My favorite, plug in a 0. -2, anything raised to the 0 power is just 1. Now I'm sensing a pattern here. We're cutting everything in half. 16, 8, 4, 2. This one we should get a -1. So -2 times a half. What's half of 2? 1 with that negative, yes. And there's definitely a pattern here. We're going in order. Let's just keep this up. Let's cut that in half. We're going to say -1/2, -1/4. Let's plot. So we're going to go back 3, down 16. We're somewhere way down here. Go back 2, go down 8. A little more manageable. Go back 1, down 4. Go back 0, down 2. Here's where things get a little weird. Go to the right 1, down 1, over 2, down 1/2, down 1/4. So very rapidly we fall, very slowly we move to the right, to left, to left. And then up here, we're going to move very quickly to the right. Very slowly, we're going to inch up, knocking on that door up there to let us through that x-axis, but never actually hitting it and never moving through. And that is graphing exponential functions.